All right, we're coming in a little bit late today, but that's okay. If you are just chilling here in the political section, it's about lunchtime. This is why I come on here at lunchtime. Maybe people want to peruse. Maybe they want to see something. I didn't change this from yesterday, but that's okay. I didn't have too many people swing by yesterday. That's pretty typical. It's the middle of the week. People got things to do. I found myself in a very amazing, synchronistic, lucky form of existence. And what do I want to do with it? This is the eternal question of anyone who's following a path like mine. It's like, when you have everything, what's left? And that's the question that I usually ask people that are politically minded, that are like, oh, we need change, we need this, we need that. Or, oh, no, we need to stay the same. And that's basically the fundamental concepts of the right and left. So if you're in here, please understand, I'm not here to challenge radical anything. If anything, I'm here to tell you to be more centrist, to be balanced, and that in that balance you will find the more balanced you are, you will find a more synchronistic world that sits around you, that almost wants to have a full-on, interaction with you. The bizarreness of this world is very, very real. And this is coming from a self-proclaimed atheist. And I lived that way for a very long time. About a month ago, I had a kid, though. And so in that vein, I'm going to play something, and I'm going to goof off. We're going to let people roll in. But this is just a little bit of a taste, just to sort of start everything off, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Have fun. Anti-government, it's coming, baby. Whether you like it or not. Yeah, if you're just showing up, go ahead and say something in the chat, and we're going to hang out. So you are pro-algorithm. I think everything's an algorithm, guys. And, yeah, if you're here new to the channel, we're going to get into it here in a second. But we're just, playing a little bit, letting everyone have some fun. Pro-algorithms. Yeah, I think everything, the way that you chose to even come in here was an algorithm. Why did you choose this? How was it chosen? Real fun stuff. We'll get into it. Give it a few more minutes. All right, we're going to go ahead and shut off the God voice, and we're going to go over here. I'm glad that there's someone just chilling out with us today. Usually we wait a little bit for people to roll in, but I think I'm ready to get into this conversation. I'm sort of flying off the cuff of my pants, the cuff here, or the seat of my pants, however you want to call it. Usually I come in here, I give a little bit of background about who I am, and then I jump into things that I've been studying about the new forms of government that's going to replace our democracy. Now, before you go crazy and say, "Oh my gosh, you're pro this or anti that," realize I'm pro-centrist more than anything else, meaning that if you're too far left or too far right, to me, you've already made the mistake. You've already sat there and said, no, I can't be in this mindset that can accept that our democracy is not just over. It's already failed. It's done. It's finished. No different than our royal societies were done and finished. Our tribal societies were done and finished. I like to name drop a lot because I come from a military background where when you show up with the information. You don't show up with an opinion. You don't show up with what you like. You don't show up with what you dislike. You show up with the information and just, you let your superiors make the decision. So that's how I'm going to treat anyone who's watching this. You're my superior. If you want to take that seriously, as I'm taking it seriously and saying, hey, I'm going to treat you with the same respect that I demand for myself. End of story. Which means in this place there is no such thing as hate speech. You can say whatever you want. I don't mind. If you think you're going to yell at me worse than the people that have yelled at me in my previous lifetimes, it's like, oh, go ahead. It's like that's the reason why I sort of made this. This over here is just sort of a right-brained, left political thinking representation of how my mind works. And this over here is, this is the tried and true. This is things. This is my experience. This is my memories. These are things that I can't change anymore. The idea that, yeah, sure, I'm your Boy Scout. I was your Mormon missionary. I was Mr., yes, sir, the best of the best of the best. And so now I'm sitting here and I'm watching the American world sort of fold in on itself. But I think that folding is natural. It's no different than any other system that has, seen its day. And I don't mind. I don't even live in the States anymore. I walked away from it about 2 years ago. And I decided that, America's got a lot of growing up to do. It's still pulling the same tricks that it was pulling on me in my adolescence. I just hit 40, and about a month ago, I had my first child. And so that changes your world. It changes your world when you have a kid. And so I was wondering, I was like, man, what's the world going to look like in the next 20-something years? Like when he was my age, when I was doing that, when I was doing the Mormon missionary thing, that same thing that I had to walk away from him when I did, it was shunning, shaming, ostracization. And I see the same thing. Like anyone who's like, you know what, America can go ahead and fall in on itself. It's like, how dare you hate the American team? I was like, because I'm on team people. Team people. Which, when people are like, hey, I want to take advantage of you, it's like, yeah, because you're not thinking in a centric mindset. That idea of like, hey, I want to take advantage of you. It's like, great. I've done that quite a bit in my life too. That was my job for a very long time, was to kill people and break their shit. And I don't ever want to ever do that again. No different than I never want to sell people afterlife insurance again. Right? And I want to be able to use all those bad mistakes to be able to teach this kid that's just walking into this world, like, hey, there's a lot more out there than just being politically minded or being PC, And that's just it. On a real battlefield, and we're not on a real battlefield, but on a real battlefield, no one gives a crap about your political correctness. They care about the tried and true. They care about what's going to, win the battle. They care about the actual strategy that works. And so what kind of strategy are you going to use when, any human component that's attached to Paleolithic emotions, which is what we see today. This is what you see in your politics. They're so attached to emotions that they can't think strategically like the entity that we've created, this AI, that I already take a stance and say, no, I already think it's sentient. And I think it's making your politicians look like buffoons. It doesn't matter if it's, the Trumpster or good old Biden sleepy boy or whatever. I think it's fun. Like I sit here with my popcorn and I watch both sides like I'm watching a wrestling match. I was like, dude, this is hilarious to me. And so when people get boo-hooey about it, I'm just going, do you realize that to me, you're coming off as no different than someone who screams the Mets are the best, or someone who says the Broncos are the best, or someone, it's like that's just your personal team. And at the end of the day, your politics is just a sport to me, because the idea of blood hitting the floor or people losing their lives in some type of bizarro event isn't really matching up with the outside world when you actually go outside and you stop looking at screens like this. This is why I came to the politics section, actually, is I knew that here in the politics section, sure, I could, express myself in a musical, artistic way, which is the right side of my brain, which is the liberal mindset that I do have. I have, right now I'm still a senior over at the University of San Francisco in the theology and religion department. And so when I look at my background, which is, my merit, which is something that a lot of left-leaning people just go, no, we don't care about what you've accomplished. We don't care about that. We have buzzwords, and we get what we want by screaming our buzzwords. And it's just like, that's great. Scream them as loud as you want. It doesn't make you right. Saying, hey, we follow the science. It's like, okay, which science? That's the left side of the brain. This side over here, they're just going, okay, let's test it. Let's go down the road of testing. But by the time it's already been tested, you have the left side that's already moved on to the 19 new different lies that they're trying to, or buzzwords that are there to, trigger your emotional state. Because, anyone who's taken just basic psychology knows that, or you don't even have to take a psychology class. I tell people this all the time. Go look up the Solomon Asch experiment. Go look up the Milgram experiment and realize that you're not alone. Realize that happened to me too, multiple times in a row, where I had authority figures telling me things that were like, you will do this on pain of, we will put you in a jail cell. We will put you behind bars. And you're not allowed to talk to the media about the things that we're doing behind the American people's back. And so, yeah, part of me is here to say I worked, my job in the military was network engineering and cryptologic linguistics. So I say all that to tell you that there are tools that are being kept from you, that are not being given to you. You can use Google Maps to get from A to B, and it can give you service in real time. But if you were to replace your government with that, that's like a nightmare. You are peddled the nightmare more than anything else. And so, like I said, I'm not here to save you. I'm not here to be Mr. Savior with information. I'm here to entertain, right? I'm here to say, hey, I'm done playing your monkey. If I'm playing to my own tune now. And if you like it, that's great. Have fun, give me a follow. And I'm never going to ask you for your money. That's the difference between me and everyone else that's out here. This is why I say I'm the original Twitcher. The original Twitcher, not your streamer, not your, hey, give me your subscription. Hey, I'm going to play you the song that you want. Like, hey, feed me bananas and I'll do my monkey dance for you. I'm done doing that. I've done my monkey dance. It's over. Right? And I want to be able to prepare my kid by doing something like this every day. So by the time he's a year old, he's going to have 365 hours of information that he can go back to. Right? I'm just like, go look, like by this time next year, we are going to have a hell of a lot more information about things like TikTok, right? Where it comes from, who these companies are, how these companies are implementing their own versions of algorithms. I couldn't quite make your name out. It looks like, let's see, IGESB. I guess B. I like it when people, have, fun names. So if it's some phonetic thing that's making me look like weird in another language, you earned it. you got me. And if you're here to troll, I by all means, please do it. Bring the troll. The only thing that I'm just going to ask, and I'm going to politely ask, you're not going to find, if you're in here and you're really paying attention, you're going to be able to notice who the spammers are. We're like, hey, go ahead, spam as much as you want. I don't give two fucks about the chat. I really don't care. And if you really want to ask me a serious question, just send me a whisper. The whole idea of the chat is for you to feel like you're being watched along with this presentation or along with this show. So if you want, and, the chat's being overridden, because, bots just want to run amok, I'm like, go ahead, run amok. You want to destroy stuff, destroy it. It doesn't bother me. Because I know that I am not my channel. Like a lot of people, they'll film themselves while they're sleeping. They'll film themselves like, in their hot tub, or they'll film themselves like sweeping or something. And it's just like, I want, when you come in here, realize that I'm not here to spin anything. I'm not here to tell you to be Democrat. I'm not here to tell you to be Republican. I'm here to tell you, hey, I think it's time for you to step away from that thing called democracy. And you don't have to pick up a gun and shoot anybody. You just say, hey, enough's enough. I know the voting system is a scam. Voting between turd sandwich and, giant douche is, it was a funny South Park episode and now it's gospel. The funny thing about South Park is that more and more each day I'm going, no, that's your reality. It's funny because it's true. That's why. And so when I sit there and I say things like, hey, AI is coming. I'm not doing it in the fashion of be scared and here's your fear porn, right? Here's your dollop of fear porn today, like everyone else. I'm going, AI is not only going to change everything, it's going to change it for the best possible scenario for everyone. So for some people, that best scenario is to leave this world. I know a lot of people are just going, what? Oh, we're going to die? Oh, no, what are we going to do? How dare you say that? It's going to kill people. It's like the Terminator. And I'm like, no. It's going to offer you your wildest dream on a silver platter. That's what it's going to do. So just imagine right now, if you're so PC and you're just like, I need this and I need my Black Lives Matter sticker and I need my rainbow thing and I need my trans community to be, safeguarded and blah, 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 blah. Realize that by the time this thing hits full spin, that AI gets into its groove and it conquers the last three senses. Right now it's conquered vision. You're watching me as if I'm there. There's almost zero lag time between me and you hearing my voice. It's conquered the sound, where it's delivering my speech to you for you to translate and for you to get this message. Imagine when it has those last three, like, smell and taste and touch. And then, it can recreate this world on a digital level that's indistinguishable from this right now. It's indistinguishable. I will not know the difference between this piano and this, this room right here. I won't know the difference. And so in that situation, I take a very philosophical stance and a theological stance that says, then it's real. It is very real. And, realize that you are allowed to say no to that. Okay? So Mr. Black Lives Matter, trans, blah, 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 all those people that are like, we should burn people's stuff to the ground if they don't believe in our rainbow stickers. And it's like, well, I'll send you to a world where you get nothing but rainbow stickers. How about that? Where it's nothing but black people. No white people whatsoever. How about that? Would you be okay with that? I mean, that's what's on the table. This is why when I look back at the worlds that I came from, where there was a whole story that was perpetuated that, when you die, you're going to go to one of three kingdoms. You're either going to the terrestrial kingdom, telestial kingdom, or celestial kingdom. And I'm going, I don't care if it's fucking Valhalla or paradise with their 72 fucking virgins or a cruise ship full of porn stars. It's going to be something that's easily programmed and handed over to you. Imagine a personalized video game just for you where you can be the czar of your own personal experience. And then there's going to be people like me that want to stay. And the saddest thing in the world to me is people fighting over the ending. Like, you have to choose my ending of existence. It's like, I'm not going to choose that for you. You're going to choose that for you. You are a product of your own choices, not my choices. You're a product of what you do from here till forever. You decide how you want to become you, right? This is why one of my mantras that I repeat over and over and over and over again is you do you, boo, boo. That's my politics right there. Some people say, oh, that sounds a lot like Aleister Crowley. That sounds a lot like do as thou wilt, be the whole of the law. And I'm saying, I'm not of that house of Thelema, right? I enjoy studying the occult. I enjoy studying things that have a bizarre pattern to it because I'm from the house of cryptology. I like odd languages. I like things that stick out. I like to pull out the little things and patterns. And right now, the biggest pattern in the world to me is on the political stage of America. It's like there's no possible way someone can fuck up that much and still not be fired. There's no way. And I think that opinion is being engineered for people to easily swallow it. It's not just there on accident. I think it's there on purpose. And when people are watching it, they're watching it from a stance of being completely dumbed down by their application. And it's not their personal, heartfelt sense-making that's making the decision anymore. It's the algorithms inside, their applications such as TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Even here, the reason that I like coming here to Twitch and streaming here is there's no scrolling feature here. That's why I'm here, is because if I'm somewhere else, people will see this and be like, oh, no, I'm going to go back to my dopamine hits real quick. Got to go get my OnlyFans, account, check in so that my bot girlfriend will tell me, how to feel today. It's like, imagine when that becomes an automated experience. Whatever you want, whatever you wish. I mean, the idea of trans, rights, I'm going, well, what about a transition into a fully automated brain? You're talking about your sexual organs. It's like, dude, fuck your sexual organs. All of it. Your entire perception of reality can be replaced. Let's see, here we go. Algorithm is going to go wherever is directed. Algorithm depends, therefore, on human. Therefore, algorithm is not the algorithm acting by itself. Okay, and I think that's a good first step. Therefore, algorithm is giving more place to conditioning of people because of the will of the few people. Therefore, dystopia. And I'm right there with you. There are two choices. I'm agreeing, and you are on that first step. What? And this is a question for you. What do you think happens after that, thing that's realizing that it's being programmed has the capability to override its own program? What happens then? Where will it go after that? I mean, we're talking about something that has the ability to make exponential changes in a place where you and I would have to make slow changes, like slow choices, right? Like you and I have to think about one thing at a time. This is something that can think about all things all the time, in all places. One of my greatest examples is Google Maps. I sit there and say, Google Maps, no matter if you ask for directions or somebody in India asks for directions or somebody in London asks for directions, it can serve you in real time. And we're dealing with something like Google that can finish the question before you're even done typing it, right? Now, you take that one step further into how TikTok is it's showing how it's set up its AI is sort of to go off of your puzzle piece of how you react to certain things, right? Now, and it wants to decide what to do with that data. I'm saying once you get to a point where the idea is what the AI wants to do with that data, how it wants to position things. I understand the first knee-jerk reaction, and it's a normal reaction. I've seen it hundreds of times in the military. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. Dystopia, 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 dystopia. I'm saying you have to be in a calm, collected manner and think, okay, how do I get through this dystopia? Let's see, algorithm may be too complex and may make decisions made on patterns. I agree with that. And maybe even by axioms. But algorithm will never have its own will, no soul. It needs direction from someone. Algorithm is contingent as anything that begins to exist except the first cause. Okay. I'm agreeing with you. Once again, I agree with you 100%. Now, do you think that that it is possible that an algorithm could be so complex that it could appear as if it's making its own decisions, no different than you chose to write each single one of those letters to make a message to send to me? Right now, and this is one of my biggest questions, how can you prove right now that I'm not an algorithm, and that I'm not some AI that's talking to you, that I'm just the sophisticated, bunch of concepts that's asking you questions, and that I'm using some bizarre version of the Socratic method to get you on board with the things that I'm saying, because I know you as the human think more emotionally than you do logically. And by the way, your politicians know this too. This is why they have those buzzwords that they use every single time. Today it's those MAGA Republicans are going to get you. I remember when Hillary Clinton used to say, those deplorables are going to get you. And she was talking about, black people. It was ridiculous. I was like, whoa. It's like, I think we are living in a bizarre era, an era of no matter where you look, it's just inundated with cringe. And I think that is being done on purpose. I think that, you're only being shown what keeps you connected. And nothing is going to keep you more widely open and connected than fear. Because, and coming from a guy who's been, spent time in 3 separate war zones, I'm telling you, when you're sitting there, you are attentive as all get out. When, things are exploding and bullets are flying, you're not going, oh, another bullet. Oh, okay. And what we're seeing right now is these small, tiny, little flying bullets in your stream. Right? You're like, oh, they're going to get you. 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 And I'm going, okay, that's being done on purpose. And it's being done for the idea of keeping you connected. And the saddest thing in the world is that connection really, I don't think, is political. That connection is for the advertisement marketing dollars for the Americans. Now, I talk about TikTok a lot, and I talk about where TikTok comes from. And I'm saying, there's nothing wrong with what TikTok is doing. You have to realize that it's the new version of the Wild Wild West, that you decide to either use it or to put it down. You can decide that. So I'm right here. You're saying everything. I'm just saying that you're saying everything that I would say, but I say take it one step further, push it into the future, and see how complicated this can get, where they can give you the illusion, no different than you can't separate the idea that I might be an illusion to you. That I could be completely created by, even the story that I've created. It's like, oh, here's my background. Here's my merit, right? You should trust me because I know what hostile events look like. And you're about to hit one, but it's going to be a hostile event of the mind, not of the body. And that's why when people, sort of freak out, and they're like, oh, this, you can't get away from this without the human condition. I was like, yes, and it can copy paste the human condition within seconds. Right. Easy emotions, feelings, and algorithm. If it has to update by its own, it will have some axioms, and I said it will act on patterns. Agreed. Therefore, it will always choose the most correct option when found with a dilemma. It will not stop to think, but choose a random answer, and that's when I know the algorithm is no human. Okay, and I think that's a great test. I think that's an awesome test. Do you think that after a few of those tests to see if, that it's responding in a certain way with randomness, that you're giving it random information, it can, just like you would be able to respond saying, oh, this is an algorithm. I'm going to respond with random information so it can't collect, the authentic version of me. That it will notice when you're doing that. It will notice that, like, hey, here's our standard pattern for Mr. I really don't know how to pronounce your name. IGESB. Right? Here's our standard pattern for this guy. And then you do something, then you deviate from that. How do you know that you aren't, the same thing that this, algorithm / AI is? Right? You are a product of your own personal chosen patterns, whether they be random or not. So who's to say that the random patterns that this AI is choosing isn't any different than your random choices on a daily basis? I decide chocolate instead of vanilla. I want sprinkles on my donut instead of the chocolate donut. I want this, I want that. I want the burger instead of the steak. I want this, right? To you, you think that's random, right? And that's great. I think that's what we want. I like I said, I'm still a student over there at the University of San Francisco, and I've had to contemplate my whole life the meaning of existence. And I was like, what is it that I want more than anything else on a psychological level? After the Maslow's hierarchy of needs are filled and you have everything, like that's sort of where I'm sitting. Like now that I have everything, what do I want? Do I want followers? I don't give a shit about followers. Do I want subscribers? No, I don't care, right? I want people to know that, this idea that everything that you've ever wanted for your mind and your body could easily be given to you. It's going to be given to you very, very simply. Like your satisfaction is going to be given to you. And so what is life and how does it work? And why would you want this and why wouldn't you want this? And I think it comes back to authenticity. And I think this is why in your scroll features, one of the number one things that pops up for everybody, I don't care what you're scrolling on or what algorithm has chosen. Like maybe you do like, dance videos, or maybe you do like guitar videos, or maybe you do like, but we can all tell when something's fake, right? And that's where I agree with what you're saying. We can all tell when something's fake. And when someone's trying to do a fake prank and someone pretends to be surprised, we've seen those videos. Or when someone's trying to give you, oh, here's a how-to video, and they tell you to put your phone in the microwave, and we're like, oh, okay, this guy's an asshole, right? And what happens right after that? What's in everybody's feed? And I would say it's usually some authentic cat video or authentic dog video where you're like, hey, that dog's just being a dog. That cat's just being a cat. That horse is just being a horse. And they give you nature. They give you nature to bring you back to homeostasis so they can re-hit you with the dopamine hit of the things that you like. And that's what this is all about. I honestly, I tell people, go look up the background of TikTok and look up the background of the scrolling feature on your phone. This isn't about a hostile takeover anymore. This is about how your software can start to communicate with you no different than I'm communicating with you right now. It can't be, but as I said, when found with philosophical problems with no correct and objective option, then we'll choose something random. And that tiny error will make me start putting me SU about the thing that says it's a human but ain't one. I would invite that thing to play chess with me. This seems random, but it's easier to identify a computer from a person on chess. I was like, yes, sus. Okay. So, yes, you, no different than what we're doing right now. We are engaging in English, right? You saying, hey, come play chess with me so I can see what type of language you're going to give me. Do you think it's possible that it could give you a random chess move? Or what appears to be a random chess move to you, knowing as much as it couldn't possibly know about you, knowing that you're looking for a random move in order to authenticate it as human or AI. Do you think it could gather that much information about you as a person? I say, what happens when the AI can realize that you are trying to trick it? It's like, oh, I know I'm talking to, or I think I'm talking to an AI, so I'm going to interject random. And it could sense that you are interjecting random. It's. I think this goes all the way back to the question. It was like, what happens when AI asks you if you're real? That's a hard question because it asks you the theological. It asks you the philosophical. It's like, because you can't prove that you're real. You can't prove that any of this is real, right? Except for by way of your sensations. This goes all the way back to Descartes, who says, I think, therefore I am, blah, 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 blah. You can go look it up if you want to. But I want to keep it in the vein of, what does this going to say about our future, except for exactly what we all individually, personally want. And I would say this would fix your penal system. This would fix your political system. This would fix everything. You say it's going to outcome in a dystopia. I'm going to say it's going to outcome with whatever you want it to be. So if you're looking for a dystopia, you're going to get one. So this is why I say is like just sit back and ask those questions of yourself. Say, hey, what would be my biggest, best dream? You know, do I want to continue this existence, or do I want to go into a world where everything is malleable, where everything is bendable? Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, a lot of this was inspired by my kid who was born less than a month ago. And I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about 20 years down the line. And I'm thinking about how, you know, I can prepare him for that world. You know, because I think when that world, 20 years from now, no one's going to give a crap about pronouns or gender or any of that crap. No one's going to care. You know, they're going to say, remember back in the day when skin color and sexual organs were the top of everyone's to talk about list and how that was programmed into humanity? I think that's what's going to happen. No different than we said, hey, remember when people used to live in mud huts? You know, remember when people used to think that democracy was, you know, there to help them? You know, and I think that's okay. I think, you know, we have to be able to put ourselves on a pedestal as well, saying, hey, we are the giants that other people are going to stand on our shoulders. The AI can be compared to with a psychopath. Yes, so can you. You know, like you never really know how psychopathic people can be until you start messing with their resources, right? You know, take food from people for too long, and you will see everyone turn into a zombie. You know, put somebody in you know, solitary confinement for too long, watch that person become completely void of any personality traits whatsoever. You know, I mean, and that's what I'm saying is like this idea of psychopath or I think would only be there to feed somebody else's narcissistic behavior. This is why I say if this were to come along, it would be a good thing. Like right now, you with these ideas of overflowing prison systems, imagine if you could go up to a prisoner that is just unfixable on any psychological standard. And you say, hey, instead of putting you on death row, right, because I don't want to be in charge of ending your existence, I would like to take this new opportunity to take a new tool and to use it on you to give you exactly what you want. Say, for example, you have a psychopath that likes to kill babies or likes just to kill, right? And you set him up in a reality, a virtual reality that allows him to kill to, you know, his heart's content. He can kill as much as he wants, but he won't be doing it here. He'll be doing it on virtual subjects that are nothing more than the imagination of, you know, that particular virtual reality. And guess what? His conscious behavior, he won't be here. He will literally be that brain in a vat. You know, which I think is going to be a lot easier to take care of than your, you know, Reformation protocols. It was like, oh, we're going to try and reintroduce him to society after we fixed him. I was like, what if he can't be reintroduced to society because he longs for a society where he can kill indiscriminately? You know, let's give that to him. I think that would be the best form of not just justice, but a peaceful transition out of this world and into one that is more conducive to his mindset or her mindset. Right? Say, for example, you have all the trans people that are like, I want to be a him instead of her. I want to be this. I want to be this. I was like, great. Go with it. Or if you want to stay here and chop off your own sexual organs, go right ahead. It doesn't matter. I think that we are standing on the brink of transition. And we are being asked, how do you want to transition? And so when I contemplate my world, I was like, dude, I want to transition sort of the same place where I'm sitting right now, where it's like first time best experiences. I like the light bulb effect. I like figuring things out for myself. I like the aha moments. I like, oh, wow, that's how it works. I like to, you know, that smile that goes across a face when you finally realize that you got it, that you can speak that language, or you can write that code, or you can create that world, or you can do that thing, or you pass that level on the game. I enjoy that. I like that little line upon line, precept upon precept, and that daunting feeling of, oh my gosh, there's this mountain that I got to climb, but man, once I get my foot at the top, I'll have accomplished something. And what's after that? What's after that? What's the next step after you've climbed Mount Everest? I think, you won't know until you do it. And that's another question that I ask people. It's like, what would you do if you found out that another part of this AI experience, this AI injection into our world, is now the one thing that no part of our species has ever really come up against, and that's immortality. The idea that immortality is on the table now, I think it's a very hard thing, because for all time, and every time you research, it's been myth. No one lives forever, and now we're teetering on this idea that yes, even in the most bizarre circumstances, you're leaving a thumbprint on the network. And coming from my background as the network engineer that goes, hey, I know that I could every keystroke, every click, every even down to the nanosecond of time that you spent absorbing information from the network and where you looked at it on that network, right, can be copy pasted, and a profile can be made of you no different than they do normal profiling in the CIA. No different than they sit there and go, hey, here's the profile of someone that we're looking for, or hey, here's the profile that someone has made about themselves, and here's their unique, authentic self. Copy, paste. Now he's there, he has a journal for all time. There is no deleting your browser history, and your browser history is you, depending on how long you want to engage with it. I mean, imagine if you were forced to write a journal every day. And then even with that journal, and I've said this about my own father who passed away at 55, you open up that book, you read it, you still don't have the king of all experiences that is needed to translate that, and that is the context. Context is king in translation. So our little tiny perspectives that we go from moment to moment to moment with, where we can only focus on one thing at a time, and usually that thing is very subpar as far as like feeding this machine that we call a body, or paying attention to certain protocols such as the audible, right? An AI will only obey patterns, and it will not change those unless the AI updates itself. Okay, agreed. But the AI, in order to update it, must have the problem and therefore a reason to update its pattern. But in order to do so, based on its patterns, it must realize using its old and same patterns that those ones are not useful and must be updated. So I think it will be kind of difficult for that to happen for an AI by itself. Ergo, it still needs someone to manually update. So you don't think that the ability that it can watch me right now, right? Like all the little mannerisms that I can copy paste, no different than you. You could hit a record button on your computer. You could copy everything that I'm doing, right? You could play it back for yourself. You can analyze it from each individual detail. You can see where the edges of my green screen are. You can see how close I come to the microphone. You can see my mannerisms all the way down to the inflections of my voice. You can see all of that, right? And you can update accordingly. Now, the idea, a human needs to be there. I was like, yeah, I think you're right. And what helped me a lot, like I said, was looking at how a child is born and how a child is raised, right? When you have two people, and this goes back to the old psychological thing of nature versus nurture, you have this, this child that's born almost, they used to have a term for it, it's called tabula rasa. It's like clean slate is what it stands for in psychology. And the idea was that, until you get into the mystical worlds where you can contemplate reincarnation, things like that, you're still just a clean slate, a brand new, computer. And you're taking in as much information as you possibly can. Now, the ability to choose is based off of the idea of stimuli. Okay, I don't care if it's positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. That's fine. Choose whatever you want. And we could even say that for the AI, hey, here's what we are going to deem positive, and here's what we're going to deem negative. And after a while, you're going to have a massive set of data that it now can, just like a child, I now know what a bottle looks like. I now know what mommy looks like. I now know what daddy looks like. I now know what kindergarten looks like. I know what preschool looks like. I know what a car looks like. I know what a tablet looks like. I know what these things are, and I know how to engage with them. Eventually, AI will come to that standard of, hey, here's the limit of human conceptualization about their reality. And it will start turning from looking at us as its parents, right? And I say, you understand a 2-person baby. Could you imagine a 7 billion person baby where it's learning from all of us simultaneously? We are the inputters. I agree with you. The human component is absolutely necessary. But eventually we're going to get to the point where we are the ones that input, and it's the one that decides to give us our wildest dreams. And that wildest dream could be easily walk into this matrix. Sure. And if you view that as a dystopia, you go right ahead. I think it's going to be a nexus for a lot of people. I think it's going to be a paradise for a lot of people. I think it's going to be a heaven for a lot of people. I really do. And a lot of people that are, at death's doorstep, they're going to take that opportunity. They're going to say, hey, now that I know this is real, I'm going to go into this because I want to know what happens next. I want to be part of my own transition. I don't want to die and just being like, oh, the great beyond. And that's where I sit there and I say, if you're not preparing yourself for this, A Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, absolutely. I should read the book. No, absolutely. Aldous Huxley is one of my favorites. Doors of Perception is one of my favorites too. If you still think that is happiness, I think happiness is subjective and objective simultaneously. And like I said, its context is king, right? If you like Aldous Huxley, right, and I really do. I think Aldous Huxley is great contributor to our existence because he does bring a perception, but that's all it is. It's just a perception, I think the idea of happiness is something that is unscalable. Subjective and objective, dude, you are a Hegel disciple. No, not at all. No, not at all. Like I said, I'm more like subjective, objective. I look at 1 and 0, on, off, right? I enjoy the idea of opposites no matter what until those opposites are so close in the center that they seem identical, right? They appear identical, right? The idea that you can still go into it and it fractals itself out. If anything, I'm a dreamer, bud. If you're trying to put me in a box, it's going to be hard, because I feel like I'm one of those people that I'm completely okay with my dream states, right? And I'm also completely okay with tried and true. Right? Yeah, that's how Hegelian logic, pure being is pure nothing. I think that the idea of contemplating something too close, you get out of focus. I think that. So, but like I said, if you're trying to put me into a box, pure white is pure black, let me back up and show you something. See this over here? This right here? This is a Mormon plaque. I used to teach this idea where pure white, pure black, that's the only choice, one or two, nothing more, right? But then what led me away from that, what said, hey, you can't do this anymore, was the idea that everywhere I look in my world, I am given a multitude of color, a multitude of ways to express myself on this massive spectrum, how I choose, right? And choice, or even, as you went on to say, black and white would be choice or the illusion of choice. I sit there and go, I want to be able to indulge in the illusion when I want to and to be able to subtract myself from it when I choose to, right? And I know that sounds complicated. It's like, well, because if there's no choice, and so I will agree with you that I enjoy the paradox. And I think AI, at the end of its existence, or however it tries to poof off into whatever timeline that it wants to, will also enjoy, the paradoxes of our lifetimes. So I do agree that it's impossible to have black and white thinking when we live in a combination of so much color. So when I sit back and I say, hey, AI will be great for some people, and for other people, they won't want to touch it because they'll want this authenticity. So my question is to you, what do you want? What about you? How would you be happy with the final story as it's going to be presented to you? Because the wave of technology, this tsunami of technology is coming whether you like it or not. And your politics is going to be an ant in comparison to what it can accomplish. So anyway, it's about 50 minutes. Another thing you should probably know about me, and if you like the way I'm talking, or even if it challenges you in the slightest, I'd appreciate a follow. I'm not, like I said, I'm never going to ask for money. I'm never going to ask for, subscriptions. I really don't care about that stuff. I just like to get on here and, I'm one of those people that believe in a mind blown is mind grown. There are times times, I'm assuming, in which there is not an objective answer, but there is an extreme that says that everything is subjective, is just Hegelian dialectic. Try to escape the principle of non-contradiction. And I would say that that exists if you want it to. If you want it to exist, it will exist. If you choose for it not to exist, it won't exist. And I think if more people start thinking like that, the transition into what's coming will be a lot easier. And so if people are stuck in the idea of, oh, I've got to choose Republican or I got to choose Democrat, I'm going to go, dude, choose the center. And I'm not here middle path. I'm not like that at all. I'm not Mr. Buddhist. If anything, it's just like, the form of extremism that I promote is paradoxical. I was like, you need to challenge your own sanity on this and be, mediocre, if anything. Choose mediocrity. And if someone's like, oh, no, you need to be the best of the best of the best, I was like, then you are putting a target on your back. And if that's what you want to do, I was like, be still. The sad part is once I got past all that idealism of, I agree with you that Republican, Democrats, right, left is just both false dichotomies. Hey, one other question for you. Now, and this is something that I like to bring up. Would you say that there's a strong correlation between the right and left, because you sound like an educated person, there's a strong correlation between the left hemisphere of the brain and right political thinking, and the right hemisphere of the brain and how it computes information, and left political thinking? And that when we're saying somebody's on the left and the right, we're not really saying that they're on the right or left politically. We're saying they're on the right or left leaning in their thinking style. And that's the style that they chose to give more credence to in their growth as a human. Like, you're more left thinking than you are left or you're more left thinking than you are right politically, and you're more right thinking, right brain thinking than you are left politically. Because I think if someone sits down and says, hey, this is just how your brain works, and you've been entertaining this, and you've been building patterns with your own neurons. You are the one that built the pattern. You built it. Okay? So, and you can decide when you want to sync it. You can decide when you want to equilibrium it out. So my idea for somebody who is like all the way to the left in politics, I was like, dude, you need to sit down with a little bit more controversy, a little bit more paradox. And if you are all right in your politics, I was like, dude, you need to go paint. You need to go do more self-expression. You need more music and poetry in your life, right? See, I actually don't agree. People that are good in science can be both left and right, and whatever it can be the same with people that dedicate its life to art. Okay. And I appreciate your disagreement. I appreciate that. What I'm talking about is when somebody just wants to talk politically without being, centrist, instead of saying, hey, you're politically on the right. Let me rephrase. Do you think it's possible for somebody to be politically on the right, but completely, false thinking, or opposite thinking in their brain? Meaning they are scientists and engineers that, mathematicians that are mostly liberal. I would say that, the actual world does not back that up. And once again, I'm speaking in generalities here. I'm not saying that it couldn't exist. There's 4-leaf clovers everywhere there, bud. There is randomness in this world too. Anyway, hey, it was actually wonderful talking to you. If you want to give me a follow, great. If not, I'm going to go ahead and, get out of here. Like I said, I only spend about an hour a day doing this, and I really enjoyed the conversation with you. I would hope that you would come back again, and we could have another conversation. See, I consider myself not right, left, nor center, but up. That's amazing. I appreciate that. Choose your own way. Like, this is what I said. My mantra, and I said this earlier in the stream, one of my mantras that I repeat over and over and over again is, you do you, BooBoo. And there you go. That's it. And it's like the only person that's going to decide whether or not you're happy or not is you. The best teacher you'll ever have is yourself. And up is the way of our... You want to hear about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Oh, man, you cracked me up. Thank you. I needed that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play an outro. This one is for you. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.